I will be honest, when I heard that the theme for today's service was hope, the first thing I said aloud was, for real? That's the third service this summer that's been about hope. And then I thought, well, it's just the third service I've been a part of that's been about hope, and so maybe that's the universe trying to tell me something that I need to reflect on this a little bit more. The first service, I shared with you all some thoughts around hope as a form of anger, and that being useful and helpful because it keeps us from having complacency, and it keeps that fire smoldering for changing things. The next service, I reflected on the blessings of finding hope in the small things, deriving sustenance from the small joys in everyday moments. This third service, I was a little stuck. As grown-ups, many of you take inspiration from literature, poetry, music lyrics, but I have never been that sort of person. My inspiration comes from children's books, which are really written for grown-ups, just so you know. And as I thought about the story after the fall, I decided that perhaps a third way of looking at hope was to think about hope as a form of faith or courage. In the story, of course, Humpty Dumpty has to have faith that he can get better again, and the courage to take some really difficult steps to make that a reality. And that kind of resonated, I think, for what many of us might be experiencing. For some of us with mental health challenges, getting out of the bed in the morning is by itself an act of faith, courage, and hope. For some of us, we have situations in our lives which require us to speak the truth in difficult situations. An act of courage, but also faith that things will get better if we speak our truth. A form of hope. Some of us are trying to recommit to healthy habits, restart habits that we wish we hadn't let go by the wayside. Starting again is also a form of hope. Some of us have experienced rejection. Maybe we didn't get the job we applied for, or a relationship has been painful for us. Having the courage to put ourselves out there again, having the faith that we can be successful in the future, is a form of hope. If we have the faith that things will improve and the courage to continue to try moving in that direction, no matter how small, that builds hope. That shows that we believe that we can learn to fly despite the cracks and the broken bits on our shells.
Thank you, April, for leading the service today. I really appreciate it. My name's Kate McGraw, and I am one of the affiliated community ministers at this congregation. I haven't seen you in a long time, so it is wonderful to see your beautiful faces. I work out in the community for a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly called Elder Place. It's through Providence. I've been there about 10 years now. And my reflections on hope today are informed by that work. And I asked April to start by reading that Emily Dickinson poem, because I find it troubling, to be truthful. I find that it leaves me with more questions, more kind of expectations about what hope is going to be than I can ever really live up to. It makes it sound like hope is just hanging out, singing softly in the background, always ready to brighten your day when you need it. That's not been my experience in life. And sometimes that expectation feels heavy. It feels like it discounts the difficult things that happen. It makes it feel like someone saying, oh, it's not that bad. Just listen to the bird. You'll be okay. It's not that bad. It harkens for me back to sort of the power of positive thinking, that power of that idea that we can think our way out of or wish our way out of difficult situations in life. That we're told just sort of look on the bright side and things will get better. in a way, it feels like a really privileged view. Like, maybe, I don't know anybody that this happens for, but maybe there are people out there in the world for whom everything works out in the end, or at least we have the expectation that it should. It ends up feeling almost toxically positive, which annoys the heck out of me, to be truthful. I don't know if I've always been this cranky about hope. I'm in my 60s now, so I feel like I've earned the crankiness I have. All of that said, hope is important, and I would add, it's complicated. It's interesting that you've heard about hope 3 times this summer. Maybe that's the time we're in. We're all trying to figure out hope right now. When I think about hope, I think about real-world tests, situations that I've encountered through work or just in life as a human, things like diagnoses of serious illness that you're not sure how you're going to get through or how it's going to turn out, loss of loved ones, even death. For sure, as we age, we all change in our levels of mobility and our ability to be independent. In my family, we're in the process of trying to help my mom make decisions about where to live next. She's at the place where living at home isn't super safe anymore, but she really wants to stay there. All this stuff happens, I see it at work, and it happens in all of our lives in one form or another. Some would say that maybe those events are challenges to hope or times when we really just need to activate, right? We need to listen harder for the bird. I have another way of looking at it offered by one of our minister colleagues, Tess Baumgartner. This is her poem, Eclipse. There's a little spider right there that needs to go somewhere else, sorry. Okay. Sometimes it's as if a storm of angry birds with heavy wings arrives to trouble your sleep, or as if a deep indigo ravine widens before your feet. Your heart gives up its bitter dance until all that remains is a mechanical device that keeps you alive, despite internal evidence. You move slowly around your pain, as though your body itself has been assailed. And you know somewhere there are tall trees with open ferns beneath, exquisite mountains as old as time. And there exists an ocean with its warm, quiet sands and gulls aloft in freedom. And somewhere there are people whose primary quality is kindness, whose many arms could weave healing shelters around you. But all this seems remote during your terrible eclipse. All you can do is wait, your pulse trembling in your ear, for the silent sun to move. Hope is difficult, and it's complicated. One of the hardest questions I encounter in my work has to do with how do we, families usually asking, how do we tell the truth and not take hope away? I have encountered situations where someone is close to the end of life and the family doesn't want the person to lose hope, whatever that means for them. And so they don't tell the person that they're near the end of their life. And they ask the medical team not to tell the person that they're near the end of their life. And that goes against every grain of my, Unitarian, Universalist, active engagement with questioning and faith. And it's their way of handling this situation. As a chaplain, my job is to meet people where they are and help them activate whatever resources they have, help them rely on what helps them be strong. So I don't get to inject my own point of view. And those are some of the hardest times for me because I want to say, you're living in false hope. Maybe they're living in hope of a miracle, and I'm not going to say a miracle can't happen. Sometimes things happen that we don't expect. But it challenges me on so many levels. The whole idea of, it kind of puts faith and science in tension with each other, and I don't know if they need to be. The idea of being honest and really allowing people to approach life with full knowledge and full information and really to make their own decisions. It challenges all of those things. And yet, I'm stepping into their lives. I'm stepping into their world. And I'm just there for a minute. They've been together through all of time, right? Through all of this lifetime, anyway. So I'm not in a position to judge or to force anything. And I've come to notice, and I noticed this actually, this is something my mom has taught me too through this process of, is it time to move or not? That for some people, denial is a really helpful coping strategy. Sometimes denial helps us get through stuff that we can't face right now. And we get through, and from the other side, we look back and go, wow, that was hard, and I really wasn't paying attention. And maybe not paying attention was helpful in that moment. But is denial of the truth necessary for hope? Do we need to, is hope only about things turning out the way we want them to? That's, in a way, the center of what comes up in healthcare a lot of times is, and I get called in as the chaplain when things are not turning out for somebody the way they want them to. And the best I can do is try to approach the situation with a sense of groundedness and allow connection to happen, human connection to happen, and stand in my faith that even when things don't turn out the way we want them to, we can still find something enriching, something, I hesitate to say we learn from hard stuff, but we actually do. And one of the things we learn is that hope changes over time. The things we hope for, what we want to have happen, changes all the time. We think of it as something static. We think of the goals in life as our goals in life as being static, right? But if you think about it, your hope changes in little ways all the time. If you think about being a kid and you really are hoping for a particular thing at Christmas time, and you get up Christmas morning and you open that gift, and it's not the puzzle you wanted, right? It's, I don't know, it's a car, or it's a doll, or it's something else. And you come to peace with that. You come to appreciate the thing you've been given. And of course, there are really hard things, much more difficult than, did I get the thing I wanted for Christmas? Right? The hard things like facing illness or loss or unwanted change of any kind. And in the work that I do, the place that I notice hope changing and strength emerging is when we start asking what matters most. What matters to you right now in this moment? What is important given this situation that we all wish we weren't in? What is important now? where do you place priority now? And in those times, especially, I think of hope as being a spiritual discipline. It's not as easy as, listening for the bird that's going to cheer me up. It's really a discipline of paying attention to, of accepting what's happening, right? Accepting things that we can't change. The Serenity Prayer is wise about that. And then looking for what's important now. Now, I have to admit, I am inherently not great at discipline. I'm not good at saying, I can make all kinds of amazing plans about, I'm going to get up and walk every morning for 30 minutes, but I don't do it, right? Maybe all of you are really good at doing that sort of thing, but, but I am so not. So hearing that hope is a discipline is kind of scary to me. I think, though, that we need hope. We need real hope. Some people call it wise hope, based on where we are now and what's in front of us, what's most important now. So in my work, just a sec, sorry. The way we get there is really by listening. Really by sitting down with folks and listening to the story of this particular thing, this particular illness, this particular piece of news they've just received, and what it means for them, how it's changing their lives, what they're scared about, what they're angry about. All of that stuff, just listening, and eventually I know this happens, and every time it happens, it's like magic. Eventually, listening well enough and people getting to say enough about what's going on with them, about how it's impacting them, people find their own hope. They find the place where they can say, what's most important to me right now is that I get to go to the beach one more time. What's most important to me right now is that I get to spend my birthday with my family. They find that place of wise hope. And it comes by starting in the mess. It comes by saying, okay, tell me about the mess. Tell me about everything that's going on and how you're feeling and what it's calling up for you. I think having seen that happen for people over and over, having experienced that happening in my own life, is part of what informs my faith in saying that we do end up in that place of hope, and that we do end up truly finding what is holy in our lives, maybe through some of that hard stuff. What got me thinking about hope in the last couple of weeks was really a story just this little snippet of a story that I read in a book called Everyday Sacred. And this story talks about a community in India where people come for pilgrimage. And there are potters that make bowls that people on pilgrimage use to eat from. And the bowls are only used once, because being used by one of the pilgrims makes the bowl holy. And so then they have to break the bowl and start over, make a new bowl for the next pilgrim. When I first read that story, I thought, man, those potters must just feel overwhelmed. They're making bowls all day knowing they're only going to be used one time. How do they ever feel like they make headway in their work? How do they ever feel like like anything is happening besides sitting at the wheel, making a bowl, and then making another bowl, and making another bowl. And the way the story was framed really got me thinking. It said, the line that got to me was that the bowls are not made to be broken. They're made to be holy. And I think about that in relation to our lives and in relation to the question of hope. And I land in that place that we feel broken and we search for hope. And we are not made to be broken. We are made to be holy. Blessed be, and amen.